Hi, everybody. Welcome to 500 Open Tabs. I'm Kaveh Taharian.
And I'm Hannah Hillam.
And today we have a very special guest. He is a video game talk show host and writer for the pop culture website Temple of Geek. Everybody, please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Kurosh Jozavi.
Well, that had some oomph to it. That was like from your soul. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm happy to be here. I've been a fan of you guys for a minute now and seen you guys come and stuff. But I'm super stoked.
So are we.
I've always been on the other end of it, and I'm like, I'm here now. I'm amongst you.
I've signed the TV.
I've tricked you guys.
Look, we're all tricking everybody to get anywhere.
It's true.
Like, it's all a lie. Everyone's lying.
It's a pyramid
100%.
scheme.
It
Okay,
is.
now you go and trick two more people, and
I will.
keep it going.
And then my downline will be extra tricked, and then I'll get more
exactly.
tricked. I'll be able to trick more. So is this the first podcast you've been on?
This is the first one. With you guys, I've been on a few other friends' shows. There's one my friend does, underrated podcasts, talking about a bunch of films that he believes is underrated for various reasons.
Hey.
And I hold a record on his show. I'll say this. This is an accolade I hold strongly. He's had like 5 different miniseries covering different like underrated films in sports, underrated films in historical spaces, and underrated in games. And I like hold the champion for being on each one of them, on each one of these little miniseries.
It's like
so
the EGOT of podcasting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For this one show. Just one singular show.
One network. I'm on everything.
Yeah.
You might recognize me from such things as
the EGOT of podcasting. Of course, I met Kurosh for the first time last year in 2023 at San Diego Comic-Con. If you guys haven't watched the episode of Kurosh's show that I went on, Kurosh played Prince of Persia, and then we talked about it in Farsi. And then you cut together a lovely little reel that I still die laughing at, where it looks like we fell in love at San Diego.
I was going to say, every time I look at that reel, it looks like a love story. It's like, oh my God, we first met here. I showed up to your panel, and like, it was just Persian love at first sight.
Absolutely, it was. You are from your home state's Oklahoma, I believe. Is that right?
This is accurate.
Hey,
yes.
This is the second Oklahoman we've had on this podcast.
What? Second? Yeah. Wow, there's more of us. I didn't
there's
know.
One more.
So
I didn't know
Alex. Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're repping Oklahoma here on the podcast hardcore. That's also, by the way, where Sarah was born, which is why we had fun conversation with Kurosh when we first met him.
So did you guys meet at the booth, or where did you meet at Comic-Con?
So when I was going, that was that year that I met Kaveh. Was the first year I had a panel at Comic-Con. And I was like going and trying to like go in from the standpoint of like, I'm part of this now. I got to wear my big boy pants and everything.
Yeah.
And one of the folks that I work with from the welcome party, Alex, she goes by Alex Galaxy online. She was like, hey, you should check out this panel. I think it's something that like based on what you've shared with me and stuff, I think you'd really vibe with it. And I'm like, oh my God, it didn't even cross my mind. I'd never heard of what the acronym MENA prior to that.
Oh, really?
From my perspective. So I was like, this is a thing.
It's relatively new, yeah. It's in terms of like being in the mainstream and stuff. It used to just be straight Middle Eastern, but MENA makes more sense.
For those who don't know, it's Middle Eastern, North African.
North African, right? Yeah. Sorry.
So then I attended the panel, and I was like, oh, okay. And it was a great panel. I know like everyone spoke from their own experiences and stuff. And then when Kyle was sharing a lot of his thoughts, I was like, I think I vibe here. Like I resonate with a lot of the angle you were coming at from, some of the things you spoke about, like podcasting and just more direct experiences. I'm like, I can at least latch onto some of those thoughts. And so I spoke with a few folks after, and I spent the most time talking to you and your lovely wife as well about like the Oklahoman roots we grew up in.
Yeah.
And from there, I got a chance to be more connected to you guys now.
Listen, the moral of the story here is always go to panels that I'm on, because you might end up as a guest on the podcast.
On this popular and lauded
of
podcast.
People listen to.
There are 12s.
Internationally renowned, domestically acclaimed.
Panned.
Reviled.
Oh, yeah, acclaimed.
Yeah.
Panned,
Infamous.
reviled. Oh,
Infamous,
there we go.
some may say.
Almost
So
correct. Almost accurate, I would say.
Yeah.
Almost correct. Anyway, you are a lover of video games and a lover of podcasts, and we're excited to have you. But, of course, the first question we always ask our guests is, are you an open tab haver, or are you not an open tab haver? And how many do you have open if you do?
So,
How
okay, I need
many?
to say something first. Do they know the platform we use for this for recording? Like, can I talk
For
about
Riverside?
Yeah, so
Riverside?
Riverside. Okay,
We can
yeah.
talk about it, yeah. But
Yeah.
I don't know if we've talked about it on the show necessarily.
Well,
We've
it's
mentioned
directly
it
It's not a
related.
secret.
Bad ways.
Oh, okay. My apologies. But the reason I
Thanks,
bring it up
Riverside.
is directly because of their question of how many tabs I own. So I'm going through, and I had this precursor email of like, hey, you should watch this to get geared up to use Riverside. And I'm going through it. I think I got everything set up. And it's like, hey, to make sure it's running, make sure you're on Chrome, and make sure you close everything. Make sure you close all other tabs. And
I don't listen to that.
And I was worried. I was like, I don't want to mess this up. I don't want that to be the reason I mess this up. So I spent 20 minutes now closing
No!
everything. And so to answer your question, usually I have like browsers upon browsers upon browsers of like 15, 20 tabs here,
One of
15,
us.
20 tabs here. And I closed them all to be on the show.
Rule follower. Oh my
you,
God.
You closed them. I've never listened to that rule ever. I have 12 tabs open right now with Riverside.
You know, when I now feel like I went into here under the perception I was going into the big leagues, and I was like, I don't want to screw this up. And so I'm
Aw.
like,
Joke's
I'm like,
on you. We're not even a league.
We're like an intramural college
We're a
podcast.
loose affiliation. Is really
Yeah.
all
they're
we
like,
are.
first time? Okay.
Yeah.
Come aboard.
That is flattering because you know what? We started this show. Part of our thing was like, we're going to help people close their tabs and help ourselves close our tabs. And it didn't work
No.
at all. But I think
No.
you just made up for the last 9 months of us opening even more tabs. So
I think
true.
the best way you get people to close their tabs is to have them come on
Use
the show
Riverside?
and follow. Yeah, use Riverside and follow
Everyone.
the guy. Like, got
to have
another
more
one,
guests.
sucker.
I love that story. So
Well,
it
but
sounds
sorry
like you
about that.
have multiple windows with multiple tabs, not necessarily
Yes.
one with a tab.
Yeah, I usually on my computer it's all segmented and I try to categorize them by in
Okay.
some madness. But on my phone, I can say this: I have 157 tabs open.
Hey, nice.
It's respectable. I like it. Like it.
Hope
How
I
many
can
do you
put
have?
some.
Oh no, Kaveh never. His is always in the.
I'm like,
Whatever.
I think you can check. I'm like, I don't know, 375, something like that. I'm
Nice.
not quite 500. I've been cleaning up a lot lately.
Yeah.
Also because I have to periodically go back and look at old tabs to be like, what am I going to do next for the show? And then I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I just have 15 of the same page that I opened up, like trying to follow some link from Instagram that I'm going to look at later, and then I forgot.
Yeah, the amount of times I will be like, wait, I don't have a tab for this, and all of a sudden my phone's like, yes, you do.
Yes,
Yes,
you
you
just
do.
like
It opens the
suggest
tab.
it.
It's
Yeah.
like,
And sometimes
like-
it's the most random stuff where I'm like, I cannot believe I've Googled this before. But
Yeah.
Anyway.
Here we are. Anyway, thank you for coming on the show and agreeing to take one of those tabs and make a report out of it. If there's anything else that we'd like to discuss, otherwise, I think we should go ahead and get into it. And Kurush, since you are the guest, you get to go first.
okay, so I normally feel like I have to stay very much on the game space, but I'm like this. I love the freedom of this show that you guys have
Yeah.
created, and so I'm like, I can
Me
talk
too.
about anything.
yeah,
And
you
so
can.
I am very passionate about a particular hobby of mine, and it kind of like rampantly grew out of control since I would say COVID. It within reason, but I'll explain. So this tab is about Magic the Gathering.
Oh,
Oh,
straight to Hannah's heart.
oh. What do you play? What are your usual like color combos that you play?
So I
Sorry,
think
I'll
right
let you
now-
talk. Your turn.
Just FYI. Woo!
So
I
you
know.
okay?
I
Oh.
have nothing. I have
Oh.
no magic.
Okay.
None.
I have
So let-
fallen deeply into the arms of Magic the Gathering.
This is so you
You
got
should
one on each end of the spectrum
You
for
should
this
see
tab.
my closet. Okay?
Filled
Bad.
with cards.
Oh,
Yeah, if I
I have
look-
so
if I
many
look-
cards.
Oh my god.
It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing
Go
to
on.
some degree, but
Yeah.
let me explain. So Magic the Gathering is a card game. It's a collectible card game. It's you're building your own deck out of this fantasy world that they've created. It was made initially in I believe 1993, and I think it's either the world's first or one of the first trading card games that came to about. Like that was something that was lost on me because I grew up not with Magic, but I grew up with like Pokemon, things like that.
Same.
The card games there, and then I know like there's like a multitude of others that exist now. If you go to a wall, like any Target, it's just like a wall of, hey, this thing has a card game. Some random TV show, Love Fools has a card game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you ever play the Lord of the Rings card game?
There's a Lord of the Rings card. Oh, why am I not surprised?
sucked.
I'm not surprised. Oh,
Don't.
okay.
Oh.
Don't play it.
I was gonna say,
Avoid it.
I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I remember when Magic became a thing.
Oh, I bet you do.
Yeah, and I had. Do you guys remember Wizard magazine? You probably don't.
Yes.
You do remember Wizard? Okay.
I have a stack of them in my
Yes,
garage.
Oh, no shit.
Yes, you
Yeah.
do.
So my only
by the way,
experience with-
sorry, you go.
Oh,
Sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
like
okay.
having such a hard time keeping everything in. So
No,
please,
continue.
If I go like,
I was gonna say,
just ignore me.
I was just gonna say that my only experience with Magic the Gathering was at some issue of Wizard magazine came with like 3 cards or something like that were when they were first launching Magic, and it came with some cards that were of some note, and some kid in my 6th grade class was like, "Oh, those are awesome," and I sold it to him for like $7 or something. And I was like, yeah. And I like basically walked away being like, oh, I just made out because that chump paid money for a piece of plastic.
For a piece of paper, yeah.
So I made money off of Magic the Gathering at 11 years old. So that's the only place.
Young
it holds in my
entrepreneur.
Good job. I respect that.
heart. Sorry, continue though.
But okay, so it is. I believe it's Wizards of the Coast, like you said. Wizards is the owner of the company, but now I believe Hasbro owns Wizards. I think
Yeah.
that's the way the hierarchy goes.
Which is why they're combining all the sets with like TV, like different movies and stuff.
Oh
which
yeah, it's become like equivalent. If you're familiar with how like Fortnite has become this whole multi, like, hey, we have Marvel in here, we have Terminators in here.
Yeah.
Magic has done that in the card game space.
Yep.
Of like just becoming this
Like
commercial.
a Ready Player One type thing, where like
Exactly, yeah.
all the
Like,
IPs
it's
are
just
stacked
like,
into one thing. Gotcha.
You could all have them all here, and you could play with them, and we could take your money, and we could,
Yeah.
you know, you want the, yeah.
Or you
Ladies
could
and
make
gentlemen, that's
Gandalf
called
murder
Monopolies.
Frodo. Oh yeah, that's called a monopoly. And if you want
Yeah.
Gandalf to murder Frodo in the Lord of the Rings Magic crossover, you can do that.
Yeah, you can. I've done that.
Yeah.
actually.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But okay, so that's it's owned by Wizards of the Coast, and the game is essentially there's a multitude of actually formats, I should say. It's like this is going to go in a lot of different directions. It's a player versus player experience. So you're always playing against someone else or potentially multiple other people depending on the format.
Okay.
And each of the formats has a distinct difference. It's like, hey, we come out with a set of, we'll say all these cards that we're about to release are from this collection or set. So it's like the fall catalog of Magic, or the spring season,
Spring collection.
yeah, the spring collection, that kind of thing. And then they'll say like, okay, in this format you can only use the last 4 sets. In this format we do everything from the past, but only below a certain hierarchy. They just made a bunch
it's
of
how they
different,
make
like,
money. Is
Yeah,
what
I've
they're
already
essentially,
saying, yeah.
disassociated as you were explaining that.
I'm with
But-
it. Don't worry.
But those majority of the formats are typically one versus one. You're across from another player playing a game 1v1. There is one particular format, and this is the one that I have drawn the most ire towards, and I think appealed to me the most because it was at a time when, like I said, I got into it during the midst of COVID and quarantine. And we were wanting to play something that like kept us going through quarantine, like virtually. And we'd heard that it's possible to play this game nowadays with a new format that offered not 1v1, but 3 to 4 players. And that format it's formally called EDH, but most people know it as Commander.
Yeah.
That's like the slang term for it on the streets.
EDH? What does that even mean?
Mean streets.
The
Yeah,
mean streets
EDH
of magic.
Yeah, they're gathering.
We're gonna gather these streets.
We are by the end of this tab we are. So EDH stands for Elder Dragon Highlander.
Oh no!
And-
What?
Is that a Mormon person who went on a mission?
It
Hi,
might
I'm
be-
Elder Highlander. I'm
So-
Dragon Highlander, and I'm here
Yeah.
to teach you about our Lord and Savior
Our Lord
Jesus
and
Christ.
Savior Jesus
Magic.
Christ.
Our Wizards of the Coast.
Yes.
Yeah, I never understood where that term. I was introduced to it as like, hey, you would like Commander? The
Commander,
local
yeah.
comic shop was like, hey, just Commander is the format you'd be into if you like these things, but you're like pro. Because we always wanted to play a game where it was not one of us always sitting on the side, kind of like,
Yeah.
hey, okay, I'll wait next turn. We were like, we want to play whatever we can do where we could all play together, kind of cooperative.
Oh yeah.
Unlike all the other formats are usually competitive, or there's like a game plan that you have to exact on. You have to say, this is the most optimal things I have to do. Commander says that's all secondary. It's all about being like, it's to me, and what I think what drew a lot of people to it is it's a casual format. It's a up to four player format. And then it's a very style driven format. I think what led to the addiction was now I can express myself in all these different ways. I'm like, oh, this deck is going to speak to my love of like Transformers. So it's going to be a bunch of vehicles. This deck is about Lord of the Rings. So it's all my favorite Lord of the Rings cards.
Yeah.
This deck is about making everyone be nice to each other. And even if they don't want to. And I'm like,
that's so annoying.
yeah, they hated it. Every time I play them, they're like, I want to hit you. I'm like, you don't get to hit me. I'm going to give you more life. You're going to win. You're going to win. You're winning at this.
That's so Totov style.
That would deeply anger me.
I found a way to channel this, and this is where my tab comes up.
It's culturally relevant, yeah. So culturally significant.
And this is where my tab comes in, is when we play, and we play in this format, we started to be like, we need to have challenges. We need to set like a parameter for all of us, and we need to like build our deck and then come back in like a month or a few weeks or something and be like, okay, within those parameters, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? And we've done this over many iterations. We picked different parameters. We're like, oh, the Lord of the Rings, pick your favorite character, do a thing. But the one we've been doing recently, and this is the one I've been opening so many tabs up, is we picked the theme of, with the color identities and with the theme of play, how can I make a deck that represents a country in one, either in its color identity or in how it plays?
Like an actual country, not like a country within the game of Magic, right?
Correct. Like an actual country. And so we each had that precedent. And what was funny was when we would, like, I had like hundreds of tabs open because I'm looking at all the color combinations. I'm looking at the effects that the player, like, you can do. The cards aren't just, there's so many. This game has been around, like I said, since 1993. So they just keep iterating on abilities. They just say, hey, now we have this thing called First Strike. It lets you do this. Now we have this thing called Making Food. Do this.
Oh, the
and
food.
So and so like food is like a thing that you can create in the game, and it serves a now an added function in the game, and it builds up, and it just keeps building and building and building and building to a point now where it's like you're looking at it. I'm like, what are the rules? And you have to be like, here, read this book, and come back to me when you finish, and then I can maybe explain a little bit of what it is.
And then the arguments over the rules.
To be clear, so there's one card, and then every year it updates like on some online database, or do you have to get a new card every time for each year? Again, I know nothing about this.
Go for it. No, Anna,
no,
please. I see the spark of your eye. I hear the spark of your eye.
I'm so annoying. No, it's like, so every set they come out with, it's like a yearly set, or like a couple comes out of every year, and those sets will be in play for a few years, right? Am I correct? And that's considered standard. And that's what the ones they play with in the competitions and stuff. But those cards aren't necessarily the same cards every year. But sometimes they do bring back, like, throwback to old cards, and they update like the card itself, or make the art different, or make the abilities different. Can you not use
the old card?
You can.
You can
still use the. Well, let's say, okay, here, just let's again for total news.
Yeah.
There's a 2024 edition that came out this year, so just so we have a reference point. So the 2024 competition edition. Let's just reference that in terms of what you're saying. So in 5 years, they might have, every year they're going to have like a 25 and a 26 and a 27 and a 28. Every year there's a new batch.
There's multiple new batches. Every year now they're like five different sets in a year.
And they all kind of roll over at different times. And so Anyway.
But what I would say, and this is part of another reason I enjoyed the Commander format, is they don't care about the whether it came out recently, whether it came out old, like it was an age-old one that you wanted to keep playing with. It's just like every card is free game. You can use whatever you want.
Working man's format. It's like, we don't care. You don't need to buy new cards. You can do whatever you want.
And even, so in that vein, whenever you see like a stylings of like a Lord of the Rings or these other flavored things that they like to throw in with a property, which is another way that they're trying to showcase or be like, hey, buy this Transformers card or buy this Tomb Raider card or Lord of the Rings. Sometimes they'll just be like, this isn't a new card. This is just a new artwork over an old card that you've already been playing with. Now you just get to play with the new
like a skin.
Yeah.
Basically. Okay.
Yeah.
So does that help explain some of the...
Not at all, but we're going to continue.
So the tab I have was wanting to build a deck in this competition we had that adhered to a country that I would pick. and I
Right.
picked, and I was picking Iran at this time, and
yeah,
so
naturally.
yeah, of course, and so I had two options. I wanted to think thematically, or I wanted to think with the color combination, and I kind of
Okay.
found a way to do both. In that I picked red, green, white as the colors.
Oh, the
Could have
flag.
been Italian or Mexican as well.
It could have, but I think the part that makes it Iranian is the aggressive food approach that I did.
Did you? You're using the food tokens a lot, right?
I am aggressively using the foods. So I have
Oh
this
my
thing where
gosh.
this guy is
Feeding
a
the
cook,
shit out of everybody.
Cool.
and I
That's
made
what we
sure
want.
my brother and cousin were felt very taken care of when we played this game of Magic.
To the point where they died in
Yeah.
the game.
Well, actually,
You overfed them. You fed them to death.
I did feed them. What happened was my brother picked. There's different types of cards in the game, and one of them is called Planeswalkers, and they're these individual represented characters that are like they can traverse between these fictional planes that exist in the world of Magic. There's like a lore behind it, but he picked America, and there's this Planeswalker that is
Who?
a big, bolsterous redhead, very just shitty, very toxic, and he's like, I'm gonna do one of our prior presidents, Mr. Trump, and a bunch of other political figures, and he just like was lobbying the whole time and not letting us do anything in his own horrible way. And I'm like, I think you'd use the right countermeasures to my Iranian approach.
Was it red, white, and blue? The deck.
It was red, white, and blue. Yeah.
Who was the Planeswalker?
It's like Commander Gruff or Commodore Gruff or something.
I know
Gruff
what you're talking
McGruff,
about.
Chicago,
It's
Illinois,
Gruff.
60652.
Exactly.
It's Scruff McGruff. He was in the game.
Yeah. This is the
Ooh.
Commander Rocco, the street chef. And I thought the street
Rocco.
chef was an apt thing for the Iranian
yeah.
stuff too. I was like, he's making some kebab,
Cheddar
You know,
kebab.
He's
Yeah,
just
all
like fanning it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's just like this little guy. Oh, and what's funny is, okay, so I gotta explain this too. Every Christmas since we started playing, part of like a gift exchange that we do amongst each other is we make in the Magic community. There's kind of like it's understood and it's acceptable even from the company. I think doesn't say anything, but they understand. People make proxies of cards. And so what we do is we make our own proxies. We'll like use custom art or a lot of times we'll take art of ourselves and implement them on the cards and be like, you play this card all the time. Well, one of the cards they made me this last year before I got this deck, but it kind of inspired it, was Moskiar was as a food token. And it's just like
Musketeer?
like the
it's a
yogurt
lasagna.
dish.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yogurt
oh,
and
you
cucumber
made
with
your
mint.
own.
Yeah, so we printed it, and this was a food token. So I'm like, this is going in this deck. This is what he's serving everyone.
You have a Mustafiar like card that you slam on the table that like beats them all.
No, so this is every time he makes food, or every time I make them make food, I pull
Okay.
this card out and be like, this is the food you made. You made 8 bowls, 10 bowls, 15
Hell yes.
bowls of muscular.
I need to play with you. I need to
That's
play
just
this
a
game with
regular
you.
week for me.
So
You're playing Magic.
we could get you into
Musketeer.
it. Kahwa.
Yeah.
I'm
I'll
gonna
have
try.
the Mustamusir card that I'll give to
Hey,
everybody.
I will say this: I do not think he would ever get into it.
I cannot sit still long enough for something
No.
like that. It sounds like so many rules.
The only reason I'm into it is because it helps me practice having logic in my
Having
brain.
logic. You
Yes.
mean, like you don't feel like you have a logical
No,
brain.
no,
as
I'm
it is?
insane. But like this
Oh.
game is like, let's center yourself and think in like a math terms and like strategy.
There's something.
I guess that's how scheduling is for me. But continue.
Oh,
Sorry.
gross.
No, I relate. I definitely sit there sometimes and just shuffle my deck. I'm like, this is therapeutic
Yeah.
to me. I'm just like the feeling of cards kind of
Sliding.
just sliding together. And I'm like, oh, they fit. They all fit. It's all orderly. Like what you're saying, Anna.
Yes.
Yeah, I've definitely gone down rabbit holes, and every time we do one of these challenges, it's kind of like a tab that reopens, a process that reopens for me. I'm like, okay, buckle up. We're gonna be up till 3 a.m. really fine tuning because you want to. Part of it is too the tabs that come up, and you'd be wondering like, well, how many tabs would you need? You look at the color
lot.
identity. You'd look at the themes that you're trying, the abilities you're trying to really hone in on, and there's in the commander format, it's 100 cards, but no one can be the same as another, unless you have rats. Rats was one of the ones where it was like
Hell
you could
yeah.
have more than one of these cards, so you could make it like 99 rats in your deck.
All I wanted was to overwhelm everyone with rats. That's all I wanted.
Can you like create your thing, like your Persian deck that you're talking about, your Iranian deck? Is that a thing that you can like put on a site or something, and you're like, here's all the cards I have, and then other people could do it? Is that a thing that people do?
So that's part of it. Is like they've made these websites where if you make a profile and then you log all of your decks and be like, okay, this is how I want to build it before I make any purchases or before I want to make any printouts. So I would prepare it there first and be like, okay, I think I have the balance. I have the cards that will draw me cards. I have the cards that'll be defensive. I have the cards that are all food related, and
so do you have your Iran deck like made on one of these sites?
Yeah,
Is that
I can.
you're
I can absolutely
sharing?
I would love to.
I'd love to put that in the note, or we'd love to put that in the notes. I think for anybody who's playing Magic.
Who's your commander of that one?
That is Rocco.
Oh, that's right.
Street Chef. He's 1 red, 1 green, 1 white mana.
That's it. That's a great commander.
He's very affordable.
For a commander,
everything that I thought was like, he's so Iranian. He's affordable. He's cost efficient. He's making foods. He's wanting everyone to aggressively work together. I was like, this. When you play against me, you will understand my culture.
This is you have to get a big fan. This is when you're fanning the
the
charcoal. The charcoal as you're cooking the kebab, and then you're flipping it. That's what you're doing. That's the dad way of doing it.
As the smoke is just blowing in their face, they're just like, and then they just pull it right off of the skewer. They're like, no, just get it while it's fresh. It's just like,
it's like hot in your mouth.
It's so good. I have 4 food decks. I'll say that.
How many cards go into like your Iran deck, for example, your country? Like how many cards do you need for a deck like that, like a regular one that you could play with, including
like a commander deck?
A commander deck is depending on if it's in the fall catalog. No, it's usually in that format. It's 100 cards. But then the tokens are not part of the count. The tokens are cards in your deck will make the tokens. Something in one of your cards will be like, make a food token. It adds things to the board.
Or make a rat token.
So you have make a rat token, make a treasure token. But no, I love, it's always a fun thing. It's always, I enjoy doing it. I'd be happy to share, like you said, the deck I put together. And I genuinely would love
It'd be really fun to see it. Yeah.
Artistically, like the token thing is a space that I'm always like, this is a fun way of me carrying like the personal art within my decks and like being like, oh, this deck has their art in it and their art in it and stuff. So I encourage you both to do that.
It'd be cool to mention something like that in the Discord and see how many people like love Magic and what their deal is with it, and see if that
guarantee a lot of them
interest.
do.
I don't even know what any of this means.
Let me tell you, I play black and green, and I can't stop making decks where I make everyone die. I force them to kill themselves.
Okay.
So it's
isn't that the point of the game? Is for them to die, right?
It's it's how you do it. It's not about
how you kill them. To kill themselves. So I don't kill them. I just make them. It's a perfect
explanation of your being friends with you.
Death touch, baby, but like evil.
Yeah, watch out, Korosh.
Board sweeps.
I'll be careful.
Board sweeps, all there. And hey, Sean. Sorry, I'm almost done. We'll put this on the Patreon. Sean plays blue.
I've never seen you so activated. This is fascinating to watch.
This is part of me you don't know this part of me. So my husband.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. It's the first time I've seen it to this extent.
I'm so glad.
My husband always plays like
you've unlocked something.
Simic, like the green blue.
Okay.
Which I'm sorry. Come on. That thing he just like builds and builds and builds and builds. They get stronger and stronger, and then I pull out a freaking board wipe, and it ruins his whole week. I ruin it.
It makes me so happy doing that.
I love board wiping. It's just like, yeah, you wanted to build your little creatures? Too bad, because this I just murdered all of you. My Gorgon deck, killer. Dude, that Gorgon deck will kill anyone. That's my best deck. I'm yelling. My kids are trying to go to sleep, so I'm fine. I don't care about anything.
Gorgon deck.
I don't care about anything.
We'll have to play sometime.
I hope I didn't step on your tab too much,
like
but I really loved that.
No, you need to get into the tab. You just like.
Anyway, who's next?
Thumbs up. Okay, thank you, Korosh. That was a lot of fun.
There was moments where I looked at Kaveh and he was fully gone. Like he was just like he was zoned out.
Can I mentally just be in a different place at this point? Is when
he was smiling, but there was nothing behind the smile. You know what I mean? He was just like, "Yeah, cool. Wait, Commando."
Commando.
It's like
that's all I thought
maybe
of.
we should ask them what their topic is before I bring it up.
No, not at all.
This is the point. Well,
yes, that's the point. Now I know that there's a Mustachior card. That's all I remember from this entire tab, which I'm deeply excited about.
Thank you, Karash.
Absolutely.
Yes, Kurosh, it was wonderful. Thank you.
Seriously.
Yes, fantastic.
Hello, friends. Ad Read Kava here. If you're like Hannah and I, you foolishly started a podcast without any idea of how to actually make money off of it. So, if you're one of our tens of fans, you can go to nebula.tv/500 open tabs and sign up for Nebula in order to help this very mid-podcast stay on for at least one more week, maybe two. Thankfully, Nebula has exclusives like my old friend Lindsay Ellis's latest video titled Trying to Make Sense of the X-Men Cinematic Universe Timeline. The release of Deadpool and Wolverine marks the end of the 24-year run of the XMCU, the longest, single-running superhero movie continuity to date. Since it is all technically supposed to take place in the same timeline, Lindsay, along with Angelina, used their X-Men expertise to make some sense of the whole thing. X-Men? Lindsay and Angie? And it's not about musicals? Count me in! You can find this video and dozens of other high-production originals on Nebula, a video streaming platform built by and for creators. And of course, I'm contractually obligated to tell you that subscribers get a special feed to listen to this show ad-free. Go to nebula.tv/500 open tabs and get 40% off an annual subscription. By signing up, you can support other creators like Abigail Thorne, Princess Weeks, and many more. Remember, sign up at nebula.tv/500 open tabs and keep us from drowning in the hellscape that is modern living.
Moving on. Hannah, you want to go next? Or should I go?
Sure, I'll go next.
You go ahead.
I'll go next, yeah. So, okay. Before I get into the tab itself, one of my thoughts I always go back to, since I don't know, for as long as I can remember, I always like to think about what I would have been doing in other time periods. If I were in the 1600s, what would I be doing besides like making babies and dying in
burned
childbirth?
at the stake
which
because
is
you're a witch, is what we talked about.
Well,
too,
that's
right?
more 1300s, so let's
Right.
let's keep it accurate. So if I was in the 1300s, I'd be burned
Peter
at the
Stump,
stake.
you were still getting burned at the stake. Don't forget.
That was in the 1500s. That was Central
1500s.
Europe.
That was
Do you also
1580s
consider
during
the
Reagan's
time
reign.
period also the location? Because I feel like
I do, yeah.
I feel like that really could make or break.
Oh yeah,
you're-
because if you go to like the Middle East in the 1500s, it'd be like completely different than England in the 1500s. Because
Yeah.
in England they're just burning women for being women, and I don't know what they were doing in the Middle East.
You could maybe find a
good at
loophole.
math. I don't know.
You could be like, I'm over here in this little Galapagos island where they praise
Yeah.
me.
Or just think about it as if I'm a man, because that's the only way I can actually entertain these thoughts without being like, oh, I'd be dead. Oh, I'd be murdered. Oh, I'd be burned at the stake. So
Right.
I'll be oftentimes in the shower. I'll be like, what would I be doing in the 1700s?
Shower thoughts.
And shower thoughts, normal thoughts, right before I go to sleep thoughts. And it's always been fun to think about. So a lot of times it just ended up being like dead in childbirth or like a farmer person or a nunnery, dude, because then I could just be a lesbian
Yeah,
semi-freely.
you could be a nun. I could see that.
Yeah.
I'd see you
Fully
enjoying that.
just, I could be, it'd be really fun to be a nun. If I were a man, I would be a jester. And because there's no fight in me, so I can't go to war. I can only make people laugh. And along those lines, I finally found what I think I'd actually be if I were alive in the 1700s. And that would be a garden hermit,
Oh,
AKA
Garden hermit.
an ornamental hermit, which is a person who is paid a stipend to live and act as a hermit in the gardens of the wealthy landowners' estates. Yes.
Hold on, let me process that for a second.
Yep.
Like
yep.
a
So-
person who won't leave their house kind of hermit?
Yes. So
Someone was
let me get
paid
into
to
it.
basically be online all day long? But
Someone
like the
was paid
1600s
who they
equivalent?
pay to look like a homeless person in order to entertain guests.
It's
So-
like the people that stand still and like
Oh, right, like that.
the
Yeah.
frozen like painted.
Oh.
Painted all in white or gold people? Yeah.
So a garden hermit job actually sounds pretty dope if you get the right person who pays you / owns. Here's the
owns
thing.
you.
It's very there's some human rights abuses definitely in here, but like
What?
it's the 1700s. No, England never. So the way that I found myself at this tab was I was looking at koi fish one day and I was like, why do they look like that? Isn't that stupid to look like that? Because they're bright colored and they get plucked up by birds. It turns out, koi fish are eaten by birds constantly because they shouldn't exist like that. They've been bred to look pretty. They're
That's true.
what is known as an ornamental animal. So they have been made. And then there was a little link at the bottom that said garden hermit. And I was like, what is this?
Where?
Because I wanted to see what else was ornamental and living. And that's where I got this. And so I got a lot of this from the Wikipedia page on garden hermits and from some excerpts from Graham Campbell's book, The Hermit in the Garden from Imperial Rome to Garden Gnome. I also referenced, I'm also referencing parts of episode 61 of the podcast Futility Closet, which I think I might have found my new favorite website that they make.
That's a good name,
as
Futility
well as
Closet. Too.
Utility closet. Okay.
It's just a bunch of odd, like, stuff. They just talk about weird crap, like us.
I was going to say.
It's us. But
Hit 'em
way
up.
less insane. They're way less insane. They're like
Not interested.
sources.
Unless they're missing something in their brain. It's not really as entertaining to listen to.
I think from what I heard, they're pretty put together. And we can't, even when we're trying, which we're doing on this podcast, we aren't put together. So here's the history. Like the other day when I saw you in person and you were like, wow, you're bringing the manic energy today. And I was like, I am 100% normal.
Yeah, no, that was, the joke was that I was freaking out and being insane. And then I kept
He was
saying
also
to
being
Hannah,
insane.
I was being
being
insane
manic.
first, and then I kept being like,
Yeah.
Hannah, why are you being so weird right now? And then
Yeah.
it was funny because you were starting to get freaked out, and I was like, I'm messing with you. I'm deeply
Oh, you gotta
uncomfortable
make
in this
this.
line
Okay,
for
you
frozen
win.
yogurt.
Yeah, you win.
Because there's
The
too many
beat-
teenagers around me talking and having their phones on speakerphone.
Dude.
Anyway, continue.
That kid. The minute that guy whipped out his phone and put on music, I was like, it's over for us. And you were like, I have to leave.
Just like on speaker? Just like had
Yes. Oh, the
my
teens listen to
kryptonite.
whatever. It's his kryptonite. It destroys him. He's dead. Anyway, so the history of this. So let's go back to Georgian England, which is the 1700s.
Okay.
The trend for gardens at the time was like, we don't want all these like nice prissy French gardens anymore with like the perfect hedges and whatever. We want something to look windswept and wild and crazy. And so they started like, these rich people were like, well, I want to be able to get lost in my gardens.
Oh my God, you know what this is? This
What?
is the 1700s equivalent of Burning Man, but like in their yards. They want to play poor. They're
Coachella.
Yeah.
cosplaying poor people.
I was about to get there. It is 100% cosplaying as poor people. Cosplaying the common man, which
Yeah.
is
We're burners.
So-
This is our
Yeah.
garden.
the whole Georgian era at this time. Everyone, even poets and artists, were all like leaning into this melancholia kind of vibe where they're like, sadness means you're smart, and nature is sad, and life is smart. Life is smart. Life is sad, and the romance of the rugged countryside and the windswept cliffs, and everyone's gonna die. We're all gonna die. Look at this beautiful graveyard. You know, stuff like that. But I would
Basically,
never
any
want to be
episode of our
involved in.
podcast, basically.
I cannot imagine living like that. I would never live like that. I hate graveyards. Okay, so it showed that someone was intelligent. Like being sad was like trendy, kind of like
Like,
it is
this
now.
is
I was
trending.
gonna say, yeah.
Yeah,
Sad is in.
yeah. I'm so sad. It's like, did it ruin your life? Then you're not. Just kidding. I'm gatekeeping depression.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Here I am, gatekeeping depression. Okay, so they loved like playing sad and also thinking about sadness. So landowners would have this like sad, wild landscape, romantic landscape, and they would hide these little grottos, like waterfalls and caves and cottages for their guests to discover. So they would like bring guests over and they would go like wandering the grounds and like find themselves in a little grotto, and they could be like contemplating life and being introspective. And you know, I sound like I'm mocking it because I
I
am.
was gonna say, this sounds kind of fun. It would be cool to go in a garden and just see some random grotto. It'd be like that. I wouldn't necessarily be sad in it, but I do like discovering fun things. It sounds like a video game, actually.
Same.
It's like a
It
Mario
does, yeah.
Brothers
I'd be
level
down
or
to check
something.
it out.
Except you come across a pretend homeless person sometimes,
Yeah.
and they can't talk to you.
They're not allowed to
so-
look you in the eye.
Yeah.
But what made it even more melancholy and romantic was to find some guy in the village who fit the bill of a hermit and pay him to live in a little cottage or cave or like an already standing up ruin, or they built like a hermitage or whatever in your garden. So
So far, I'm not
So they
seeing any
hide-
problems. This sounds great. You're getting lodging. You get to live
That's
on
what I
nice land
mean.
where you're not going to get
Yeah.
hassled by the cops.
Just like,
This is
hey,
what
I
I'm
want
gonna
you to be
yeah.
here, housed, taken care of. Just
How
stay
do
in
I
there.
get this going now in 2024? I don't want to pay
I
rent
think you just
anymore.
need to
I'm
go-
sick of it.
You need to go on the street and let TikTok people talk to you and ask you how it is to be homeless, and then give you some donations,
The
and then leave
freshman
you forever.
art student photography project subjects. Yes.
Yeah, you need to go like lay
Classic.
somewhere, and then you gotta feel really. They gotta feel really good about themselves.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. They're like, I focused.
You won't make money, but you will make some white person feel really good. And isn't
And
that
isn't that priceless?
Yeah, by white person, you're talking about their magic deck, I assume, correct? This is...
Oh, no. No. So, so ornamental humans weren't the only fake thing in these gardens, because those ornamental...
I love the term ornamental humans.
I feel like that should be the tagline of today. Ornamental humans.
Ornamental humans. That's what I call my friends. Ornamental humans.
I'm a narcissist. These are my ornamental humans that follow me around. So they would also need to build places for these ornamental humans to live. So they would like build these fake buildings. Shout out to Stephen Ray Morris.
Shout out to Stephen, yeah.
These are like OG fake buildings where they would just make these like almost like Disneyland level looking like cottages. And like perfectly set it up to make. This is
lo-fi
cottagecore ornamental humans and beats to study to.
That's what I'm going to be making my next magic deck too. Is just play that in the background. I'm just chilling. I feel so sad right now. This is really hitting the vibe.
I want to feel sad like the rich people in 1700 England felt. So they'd build these fake houses, and sometimes they would use them to like hide like utility stuff, like gardening supplies. And sometimes they'd be like, "You live in here, hermit," and they'd like set it up perfectly to like make it look as magical and like romantic and sad as possible. And they based these on actual Italian estates, which they used to have these old Roman,
They hate the Italians. They're like, imagine your life as an Italian. That's the saddest thing I can think of.
This is what I need to see every day. See a sad person living in here just to remind me. I'm like, okay,
it's food that tastes good? Boo. I hate food that tastes good. We want gruel with gravy.
Beans on toast.
I want to eat blood pudding.
Marmite.
Just drink the blood straight out of the rabbit we catch. Okay. Kurosh, I don't know if you know this, but we cut out like minutes of laughter from this show. Like,
oh, really? I don't think I know. Okay.
No, I've never laughed. I know I never laughed, but like, anyway. So they call these the follies. So follies are like fake garden stuff for the hermits to interact with.
Okay.
And I also like went down a follies hole, which I found something else that's so quintessentially Europe. And there are these things called famine follies, which after the Irish potato famine, they attempted to give the suffering Irish jobs instead of handouts because they didn't want them to think that they could just get free money from the government. They'd make them build roads to nowhere to earn these handouts, or walls to nothing. Oh yeah, and then piers into the middle of bogs just to get them working on something to make them like so it doesn't feel like they're getting free handouts from the government.
Sometimes I think where things have gotten crazy now, and I'm like, no, things like this remind me. There's always been just craziness.
Oh my God.
We've always been this way.
Off our rockers.
Every year of human existence has been this. Anyway, back from follies. I'm going back to the ornamental humans.
Okay. The more sane item.
The same thing. So there was an advertisement that was found by Graham Campbell, the guy who wrote that book, from the 1797 that reads as a job listing, where the requirement of the job for garden hermit was such. It was, quote, the hermit is never to leave the place and or hold conversation with anyone for 7 years, during which he is neither to wash himself or cleanse himself in any way whatever, but to let his hair and nails, both on his hands and feet, grow as long as nature will permit them. So you just gotta look like a piece of crap.
Listen, minus the not showering and cutting, even the cutting your hair and nails part, but just minus the not showering part, I can
sounds great.
Honestly think of like 5 people off the top of my head immediately, specific names.
What brought them to
specific friends?
Yes.
What brought them to 7 years, I wonder? Like, they were like,
it
7 years is the sweet spot. That's where we really see the
gum at the beginning, and then by the end of the digestion period, that's when it could be free.
Yeah, and you have to watch. You got to pass. It's called the passing of the gum, and everyone watches you poop the gum out, and then you're released.
It's the season. It's like everyone gathers around. It's like, yes, it's the passing of the gum.
My guess would be that they would die after 7 years of not showering or cutting your hair or like cutting your nails.
Oh no, there's that guy who hasn't showered in 40 years. Have you seen him?
Oh, there was the Persian guy that didn't shower.
Yeah,
when he was
that's
like 80,
who it was.
And then
That's who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, he died.
He died after he had to shower.
It was like 70 years. And
he had not showered
they
for
washed
many,
him,
many
and he
years.
perished because he had a perfect like biome,
yeah,
like
it's
living
true.
Like he couldn't live without the grime
Shout
he
out.
collected.
Shout out to our brethren.
Yeah.
One of your boys, dude.
One
There
of
he
my
is.
boys.
He went
Although-
cold turkey.
Yeah, not showering is not a typical trait of Persians. We're excessively
No.
clean.
From what I've learned about the Viking episode with the Persian guy
Yeah.
who described the Vikings as
he's like,
absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
He's like, what are they wearing? These people don't
This is not
shower,
part of the
don't
fall
wash.
magic card fashion show.
I remember that episode. You were like, "Oh, we've never changed.
We haven't.
We just haven't changed." Okay,
Wait, so
so
do you have an answer for why 7 years, or we were just thinking about that?
it depended on the person. So a lot of these, it was like trendy to be like, "I have a man who lives on my estate.
I pay
I
a
have two.
funny man. Yeah.
I have a funny man who," and sometimes they'd be like, "Okay, you got to live here for just the summer and entertain my friends," and they would have them like interact with the friends as like a set piece to their garden.
Yeah.
So like the friends would come and be like, get this wisdom from this person who would like act as this old wise like wizard druid, because they would dress as druids. A lot of the time they'd be like, put these robes on.
Put this on.
He's like
Be over there.
Gandalf.
Yeah.
You shall not pass.
They're like, you can't talk.
Yeah.
They like zap him with a taser. No, it's 1700s. Be a whip. I guess the 1700s version of a taser is just a
Stabbing
whip,
him.
right?
Right.
Flong?
Yeah.
Flogged,
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know.
probably.
I don't know why I went here.
Spikes.
And they offered good pay, so they get like 600 guineas. I don't know how many that is, but I pictured guinea pigs, and that was really cute.
Inflation calculator doesn't have that in there. How many? How?
I don't
What's
think
the
they have
equivalent of
guineas.
600 guinea
600
pigs
guineas in
in
today's world?
1700s?
They got paid well because like you're like, hey, you're some laborer from the village. We're gonna pay you to not be that anymore and just live here as an old crazy druid. And at the time, druids and magic and King Arthur and all those legends were really making a comeback. People were loving all that weird legends, and like France got in on the sprucing up the Arthurian legends with like sex, because that's thanks France.
Sex makes everything better in stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, they added Lancelot, they added the love triangle, and it's like, guys, all right.
We know drama. They were the TNT of their generation.
Right, they were, and
know
they're like, this Welsh legend is just full of fighting and sadness. We're gonna add a love triangle, and
Nice.
it's gonna be hot. Anyway, so that was all part of it, like this mystique of like, there's this old druid living in a cave, and so some were required to just not even wear shoes. So it depended on the person. They're like, here are my requirements for my ornamental human,
Yeah.
and we need to put you guys in some long robes, or you got to look dirty, or you can clean yourself, but you just got to be a wise man. And sometimes they'd even put a dunce cap on them, which was what we would think of a dunce cap, but I think it's more like a wizard cap.
Wizard cap, yeah.
hat.
This is literally just Walt Disney creating
Yeah.
Disney World, but people
Yeah,
in their own houses.
absolutely.
That's all this is.
Along with the anti-Semitism included as well.
Put these ears on. Make your voice higher pitched.
Yeah,
And
and live
yeah.
as my personal.
I haven't showered in 7 years.
Can you say it as the
Gorsh.
English would have said?
My toenails.
Stop it. Okay. So many times.
I'm gonna have some weird nightmares tonight.
Oh, welcome to the club.
Ornamental Hermit Mickey.
I'm going to Disneyland later this week, actually.
That's all you're going to
You
see
gotta
now.
wear a druid robe and
And not
scare
falling or
everyone.
anything. I'm like, are you a garden hermit?
Just
As
be
I
like,
hug
what's
Vicky.
up, ornamental human?
Hey, look, if they're gonna pay me 600 guineas to be an ornamental human, I will do whatever they want.
That's true.
So there is an example. So many times the hermits would actually be part of some performance or experience. They were like weirdly into like full blown experiences like we do
This is-
today, where it's like
Yeah.
Disneyland. And it's- Yeah.
It's like an Airbnb experience. That's what they're doing. They're getting paid.
This is Disneyland with like way more typhoid and whatever. Actually,
Metal.
no. I think there's probably the same amount of typhoid in Disneyland now. It's like that Simpsons episode where Lisa drinks the water at the
Yeah.
at
She's like,
Duffland.
I am at. What does she say?
Oh,
I'm
the
the
end
lizard
of
queen. Is that
something.
what she says?
There's an example of there being garden hermits as far back as the 1500s. So this isn't just the 1700s. These have been around, but in some form or another.
Yeah.
With the 1500s, they were more like entertainers. So there's one performance where the Queen of England showed up at some guy's estate, Elizabeth I, and she went to this Theobald's estate, like garden performance, like hermit performance. And she walks in, and the hermit's there to greet her, and he's like, my sovereign lady and most gracious queen, be not displeased that one so meanly clad presumes to stand thus boldly in the way that leads into this house, accounted yours. So pretty much saying, hey, sorry I look like this. I'm sorry I'm here.
Sounds like a
I look
Shakespearean
like
play
crap.
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is what Shakespeare lived. I'm sorry I look like absolute garbage. Welcome to the party. And then they went on to be like, wrote a fake prophecy for her, like lauding her being a virgin, and we're like, if you stay a virgin for 33 years, you'll be the legendary queen. And the hermit said all of this. This poor guy who was probably like some laborer was like, I guess I'm talking to the Queen of England now, and I'm wearing a druid robe.
Listen, that's an opportunity he never thought he would have. That's great for your resume. Be like, I've talked to the Queen. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be on my podcast, if you're on my podcast,
my druid podcast,
you will have 33 years of amazing reign and supremacy.
Yeah, she was like, and then they gave her like a bunch of treasure. Rich people, still
treasure,
the same.
yeah, take home.
So one of the first to be considered an ornamental hermit was Francis of Paola, and this was actually in Italy. And he founded some Catholic order that's still around today, where they swear poverty, and they don't eat meat, and they just like live solo and don't talk.
They're like monks.
And so he was like, kind of, but like hermits. And so he was 13 when he was like, I'm gonna never live with anybody. 13-year-old.
Many 13-year-olds go through that.
Yeah. 15. This guy never left it. 15, he decided to live in solitude, and then he lived in a cave on his dad's land. So he was still kind of nepo babying
Trust
it
fund
up.
kid, yeah. I'm gonna live in a cave in my dad's land because my dad's a landowner.
You can't even go out into the wilderness and live in a cave with like bears or whatever.
I'm sorry that my dad doesn't own a cave. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, this is from a place of privilege where my parents gave me this cave. So Francis of Paola is like really fascinating dude, and I'm gonna keep his tab open.
Okay.
But by the time he was an adult, he was living with the King of France as like a fun little advisor, like a fun fake hermit advisor.
Hermit advisor. I need one of those.
Don't we all?
And then another description, right? I'll give you guys advice.
I would.
I'll dole out
advice doesn't have to be good.
Not...
You can just give advice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It could be a cautionary tale. Like, you can take my advice, you could end up like this.
Yeah, look at me. A hermit wearing nothing
living
but
on my
a
own
robe,
cave.
A strong,
just
independent.
eating grass. Strong, independent. I am a strong, independent hermit. All right? And I deserve every right that non-hermits have. Guys, I feel insane. Recording at night is insane.
It is true.
I'm alive at night, and he's alive in the morning.
I'm alive in the morning.
I think I'm thriving.
You are. I was like, you do have a certain energy about you that we don't have.
This is like
I'm alive right now.
Yeah.
What was the movie? Was it Gremlins? When like after a certain time, it's like the energy just shift. It's like a dichotomy. It's like
Mogwai. I'm Gizmo, and she's all the other gremlins that get crazy.
I'm a green, red, black gremlin with my rats.
Did you see Gremlins 2, Hannah? I
know. I just like how you're talking about it. You talked about it on our AMA when it was like, what's
that's
the
right. We did talk about
the
it.
best bad movie, and you're like, I said Troll 2, and you're like Gremlins. We both talked about Trolls
Did you see
and
the second
Gremlins.
Gremlins?
I have a long time ago. Yeah.
Anyway, if Hannah's not seen it, then I'm gonna skip it. But for some reason, you're the vegetable gremlin. I don't know why. That's the first one that popped into mind.
Me or him?
You.
Oh.
The
thank
vegetable
you.
gremlin like grows like tomatoes out of its face and back. I just seemed like something you would do.
There we go. That makes sense. I'm looking at vegetable gremlin. Oh, come on, man.
This is what
that looks like an orangutan with like leaf ears. I don't like this thing.
It's self-sustaining. It grows its own food. It's awesome.
That's
the point.
Like the birds should do with Guano Islands. Just
it can eat its
guano.
own flesh, and it continues to live. That's the weird, morbid thing about it that I thought you would appreciate.
Oh, thank you.
That's the sweetest thing.
It's really nice. You know, I think I will keep you as a friend after all.
Thanks. I'll let you to keep being an ornamental human in my life.
You could be his ornamental. I also wonder if like it doesn't. You said it's from 15th century to 17th century.
Yeah.
It couldn't have just been an overnight like, hey, this is the thing. I feel like it was a subtle, slow I'll keep you around, and then slowly it's like, don't worry about sharing, and then just a slow degradation is like, you used to be like a friend,
Interesting.
and now I'm like, I'm just kind of interested in having you around. Stop talking. Just stop talking. I can't. And then
As
just,
long as you
I'll
don't
pay
talk, you can stay here.
I'll pay you. Like, if that's what's keeping you from wanting to keep doing this, I'll just pay you. And then a century in, they're like, this is a thing. Like,
The
everyone's
King
doing
of France
it.
is like, let me consult my hermit that I got from Italy. I here's my guess is that, like, I know that when Shakespeare was around and writing plays, he based almost all of his plays in Italy. So it was very, like, trendy to be into Italy and Italian crap, like in the 1500s and 1600s. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, let's also do what the Italians do, which is keep people as sort of pets on their
I
in
think
their
we
land.
understood what they're doing. This is what I interpreted.
Another description of a hermit is a garden hermit. It's from 1784, and it's a guide to an estate in Shropshire owned by Richard Hill. So they had these guides to be like, if you're going to go to this
Dick
rich
Hill.
person's place, welcome to Dick Hill. This is the hermit that lives here.
The
His name
Hermit
is-
of Dick Hill would be an incredible name for a comic book or a graphic novel.
Hermit of
My
Dick
autobiography.
Yeah, the autobiography. Yeah.
The untold story of Kurosh, the Hermit of Dick Hill.
The Hermit. That should be the name of a podcast. The Hermit of Dick Hill. The untold story of Kurosh's magic deck.
Hill. If we
That sounds even
his magic deck, the hermit of yeah. If we still named episodes like we used to, I would want to call this the Hermit of Dick Hill.
The Hermit of Dick Hill would have been great.
Yeah, of Deck Hill. No,
Dick.
so we'll get around to your tab. Just a minute. I'm almost done.
It's okay.
So this guy describes this. Listen, this. Hold on, I'm feeling it safe. So
This is another
Seven-
attribute of nighttime recordings is the giggles and the silliness.
no,
That's
No,
a
no,
normal thing
this
for
is
you guys.
just as
Okay.
any time of day.
It's far for the
We're
crew,
both
okay.
insane. I hope you're having
There's
a good
always-
time. That's all that matters.
I'm having a great time.
Great.
good. That's one thing we can
If
do.
you guys
is
want to
have
just pay
fun.
me to stay here and just listen,
Just listen.
and
Yeah.
I will
You'll
gladly
our
be. I will gladly be this podcast, like designated
Studio
Ornamental,
audience.
yeah, our
ornamental
podcast
tab. I
host.
can be your ornamental tab just on the side.
Yes, or like whatever that guy is for Conan. We just look at you every once in a while and we're like, Garage?
Wah, wah.
That's pretty much what the guy is. What's that guy's name? Andy? No, what is his name?
Andy Kaufman.
Oh yeah,
No,
the one in
Conan's guy that he plays off of.
Is it Andy Kaufman?
No, Andy Kaufman's
the old
full on
comedian
dead,
from
maybe.
Yeah, from the 80s.
Oh, you're right. No, I'm thinking of someone else. Sorry.
Conan's-
Sona is the one I
Conan's
was thinking.
guy.
Designated
Not Andy
Hermit.
Richter you're talking about.
It's Andy Richter.
Oh, Andy Richter
It's
talks
Andy
shit the
Richter.
whole time, though. But Andy Richter's not... Oh, I thought
I
you were
know.
talking about the
Andy
podcast.
Richter is Conan's ornamental human, is
Right.
what I'm saying.
Or Ed McMahon.
So it exists in today's world, is what you're saying.
It does. Gestures and ornamental. I mean, anyway, so I got to get through this. So a guest describes the hermit like this. He says, quote, "You pull a bell and gain admittance. The hermit is generally in a sitting posture with a table before him on which is a skull, the emblem of
Nice.
mortality, an hourglass, a book, and a pair of spectacles. The venerable barefooted father, whose name is Francis, if awake, always rises up at the approach of strangers. He seems about 90 years of age, yet has all his sense to admiration. He is tolerably conversant and far from being unpolite." So you can just
Tolerably
go in like,
conversant.
he's fine.
It's all right.
It's like us at every convention. Tolerably conversant.
Or in some cases, intolerably, depending on
Yeah, much
who
more
we're seated
intolerable.
next to. We've driven some people away. I will say that much.
Oh, very much so.
You know, I will say this sincerely. Do away with me. Just like put me in a hole somewhere, you know? Just roll me off into a
Just
hole.
roll me up into a
Put me
garden.
in a cave.
Yeah, put me into a cave on my
Take
dad's
me out onto that
property.
Irish famine built
The
pier
road
into
to
the
nowhere.
bog and just push me in. So, if
Dick-
you lacked the funds, if you Dick Hill, if you
Hill.
lacked,
Just
if
roll
you
down
lacked-
to Dick Hill.
roll me down it.
Roll me down Dick Hill. That's a great phrase,
That
too.
sounds like a country song.
Yeah, as I said, that's a chorus
Well-
to a
Roll
song.
me
Should I grab my
down.
guitar?
Dick
He rolled me down
Hill.
Dick Hill,
Here I go. Once
down
again.
Dick Hill. No, it's like Johnny Cash, and it's like
Yeah.
roll, roll, roll me down Dick Hill. Okay, let's has okay. I can't read. If you lack the funds to still if you lacked the fund to still
That's-
wanted everyone to come to your parties, you could always fake the hermit by setting up a little hut and making it look like he just left and
Home
was
Alone.
wandering around.
Oh.
Yes.
You just
Or
straight up.
you could just have a straight up dummy hermit.
Yeah, you could have like a cardboard cutout of Michael Jordan dancing in the window.
Yeah,
sill,
the
like
Home
behind
Alone,
a
like
shadow.
where he's
yeah.
just like, "Hey, that house. I thought you said they left."
I'm a hermit. Yeah. I'm not
I'm-
showering, doing this up and down.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah, and Macaulay Culkin's down there like,
jingle
"Ooh,
bell."
ooh,
That song was around back then, right?
Yeah.
I don't care. In an interview with the Boston Globe, author Graham Campbell, the dude who wrote that book, says, quote, if there was one who lived in a cave, he had a bell, and you could get cave service. He could ring it, so he could ring the bell. And a
Cave
pot
service
of tea,
is so overpriced.
I know.
You know, it could
can
bankrupt
you
your
believe
entire
that?
family.
It's first the valet, next the
Yeah.
cave service.
Do
I don't
not
know what I'm talking
touch
about.
the mini liquors inside the
Well,
refrigerators.
that sign
in a
was
cave.
written so small. How would they? I didn't know. Anyway, a pot of tea or something would be brought, though he couldn't talk to the servants. There's no suggestion of cruelty, besides the fact of being basically owned, of course. And around the 1800s, people were like, we're kind of bored of these ornamental humans, garden hermits, and they kind of fell out of favor because as industrialization picked up, homelessness became more of a thing. And people started valuing work and actually being able to work for your like a living way above like, let's just pay this person to exist as a gross man. And slowly turned into the way we view what we consider hermits now, which are, you know, people on the edges of society or like such as like World War II vets or World War I vets coming back shell-shocked. Like thousands of them just went and lived in the forest because they literally didn't know what to do. Yeah. They were so like PTSD'd out that they were like, I guess I'm going to be by myself for the next 50 years. And that started becoming like a wow, they can't even handle like this and that. And now we
World War.
a little bit of like watch it. Oh, you watched your friend's head get blown off. You can go live in the forest.
Yeah.
Someone stop me. So the garden hermit. So now we hate hermits pretty much. Everyone's like hobos are ew, and it's like, guys,
isn't there? I forget in what culture it's maybe in Korean culture or in Japanese culture. There's like the shut-in where they're shut-ins. They stay. They order food and they get paid to be. It might
Did you say otaku?
Isn't that what otaku originally was?
No, that just means fan, like a fan of like something.
There's a term for it. I think is it neat?
I'm gonna look it up. Actually,
there's something to it, but there is something that is like regarded in some ways of like, oh, this is not necessarily maybe respected or there's like a notoriety to it that still holds in that culture. I can't speak to it exactly, but I had a friend who had someone he knew in his family that was that.
Whoa! So they just were like paid to stay.
They were just like, you are okay. You do this. I will take care. Like I will bring you food. I will take care of you and make sure you never have to, because they were like, I choose not to, and so they just had everything like kind of like.
Hikomori is what your thing is, by the way. Is what the Japanese version of it is.
What is?
Is when the people who go through severe social withdrawal completely from society and seeking extreme degrees of social isolation and confinement.
Dude, have you guys ever seen that? Was it Nasubi, the guy he had to like survive on just like sweepstakes and like
there's a documentary about it or something, right?
Did they make a documentary?
I think so.
Dude, I watched that original series.
He was in total.
No, as long as it took him until like I think it was, he had to reach a certain number of like, I can't remember, but anyway, he didn't know he was on a reality TV show, and they kept like kidnapping him, and it like ruined him.
Oh,
he's fine now, I think. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry, I went on that
tab.
Tangent. Okay,
that's my tab.
That was a journey.
Ornamental.
Yeah. I want to make a Valentine that says, "I'll be your ornamental human," or "I'll climb your dick hill."
Holiday 500 tabs merchandise.
There you go. Or if someone's
buy your
have a
ornamental
baby.
Human.
Oh, it's an.
That's a great idea.
A hermit ornament.
Hermit ornamental human.
You are hired.
Yes. So far, we got a 500 open tabs magic deck and an ornamental human. We're making money.
Merchandising.
We don't need any more money. We have enough.
We have our dad's cave that we live in. It's perfect.
Okay, it's my tab. What do you have for us today, Kaveh?
Thank you for that. I don't know if I can compete with ornamental humans, but mine's fun.
That's a tough act to follow.
Tough act to follow. So the tab, my tab, I wanted to originally use this for Halloween, but
Oh,
it wasn't really long enough for a full tab. So
perfect.
I was very excited that we got to have a guest host, which means I can have this is what the guest ones are fun for. There's a lot of tabs that we want to do full episodes on, but it's not long enough. So we get to put it in one of these ones. So this is about U.S. patent number 1749090.
Oh my God, this is the 5th time this week
I
I've
knew
talked
it.
about this song.
I knew it.
Why does this keep coming up?
Listen,
How did I know you were going to do this?
contain your excitement. I will go into detail about what it is, but first, context. Police interrogations have come a long way, right?
So
No, actually.
Exactly. No, of course they haven't. They've only gotten worse.
I was like, wait, absolutely not.
No, that was the joke. Remember Gitmo? Remember waterboarding? Yeah, remember how shit just like radicalized people more rather than actually getting them to confess to anything?
Have you seen that meme that's like, waterboarding at Guantanamo Bay sounds really fun if you don't know what it is?
Yeah, it's true. It does sound like a water park of some sort.
I'll
Yeah.
have two. I'll have two of those. Extra bourbon.
Yeah, yes.
It doesn't go well, and it, like I said, it just results in a lot of false confessions and radicalization. It's terrible. Apparently,
False
speaking of
confessions.
false
Radical
confessions
behavior.
happening in the background. Yeah,
That
Dear
was
Lord.
perfect cue.
Goodness,
We'll keep that in.
Who's getting tortured in the back?
Guantanamo
probably
Bay
the-
Watergate.
Yeah, what? Someone's getting waterboarded.
My youngest is getting waterboarded by my oldest. That's what's happening. Look, it's waterboard o'clock.
With waterboard clock. So apparently this has been a thorn in the side of law enforcement for many, many years, and it's what led to the creation of today's patent. So let's go back in time. We're going to go back in time to the 1920s. In the 1920s, Art Deco is quickly becoming the most popular art movement. An ambitious Reza Shah ends the reign of the extremely incompetent Qajar dynasty, and the Harlem Renaissance is in full swing. It's a good time.
Yes. The three things I think of whenever I think of the 1920s.
Yeah.
The Qajar dynasty ending is a really big deal for us, but
Huge.
No, I know. I'm being an idiot.
I know, I'm joking. Now,
The Qajar dynasty was kind of a big deal.
it was kind of famously a disaster of like being very poorly run. So, also, if you remember during this time in history, America is fully in the throes of prohibition, which means there's suddenly a whole new class of criminals, both invented by the state because what people were already doing suddenly became illegal overnight, but also some new, super horrible, terrible criminals that didn't exist before.
Oh,
And obviously, everyone couldn't be a cop, but a lot of people were not huge fans of crime in general. And
darn.
they wanted to do whatever they could to help. One such person,
Everyone being a cop and just arresting each other in just a big arresting circle.
left and right. That's all they did in the 1920s. They went
Oh,
and got
you're
illegal
going too
booze.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you are. No, you are. Hey, no, you tried to shoot me.
Citizens
Anyway,
arrest.
sorry. I stepped right on your buildup of your tab, so please.
It's okay. One such person who wanted to help out, her name was Helene Adelaide Shelby, who was from our very own Oakland, California. So I can only imagine the state of hyphiness she was in when coming up with this shit. She took ghostwriting a little too literally.
Oh, no.
Oh?
Oh, spooky.
So, in August 1927, Helene filed a patent for, quote, an apparatus for obtaining criminal confessions and photographically record them, which is extremely unthiz because everyone in the East Bay knows, don't tattletale. That's the number one rulie. Sorry,
No.
I have to give my East Bay Oakland
You
references.
have to, yeah.
Represent.
I'm
anyway,
just nodding like a South Bay person who wants to feel
you
cool.
guys talked about magic
know what
cards.
that
I'm going to
is.
talk about
Can you understand it, man? Like, I don't understand any of this slang and lingo.
I'm fully Silicon Valley.
People
like,
in the East Bay
like
are like red, black,
South Bay.
green combinations, and they have tokens.
Oh my God, that's so
Interesting.
Jund.
That's so, you're right. That is 100%.
So
Wait.
at first, the device sounds pretty innocuous, right? All
Yeah,
it said was, an apparatus for obtaining criminal confessions and photographically recording them. The first thing I thought of was Errol Morris's Interrotron. Do you guys know the Interrotron?
No.
The entire
What?
No,
Never heard of this. You know Errol Morris, the documentary
Yes.
filmmaker?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So the Interrotron is basically, it's effectively like a, kind of like this, like where you do a Zoom call where you're looking directly into the camera and the other person's looking directly in the camera. So the way he conducts his interviews is he's got like this reflective mirror system where he's got a camera that he's talking into, and then the subject has a camera directly on them and they're being recorded. That way the subject can talk directly into the camera as they're answering the questions. So it feels like a more intimate experience as opposed to like, you know, a wide shot where you're like in the corner like this, like looking and talking off camera. Sorry, you probably didn't hear any of that because I walked away from the mic.
No, it was a little bit of ominous.
I still hear it.
It was cool.
That's what it sounded like at first, but apparently it's not that at all. It all seems pretty basic until you read further. Helene goes on to state, it is a well-known fact in criminal practices that confessions obtained initially from those suspected of crimes through ordinary channels are almost invariably later retracted. So
she knew that even back then.
She knew that even back then. So how do we get them to tell the truth? There's the rub. So this next part has nothing to do with the patent and it's pure speculation, but I did read this in all the different research that I was doing for this, and I think there's a ring of truth to it, and I think it's an interesting extrapolation. So,
I would prefer you not to ruin our academic reputation.
Yes, this is factual completely of what I'm saying right now, and it's scientifically proven. Look it up, liberal. Anyway.
How dare you?
Now, at this point in time in the 1920s, America and the rest of the world has really been through it. World War II racked up a worldwide death toll of nearly 20 million people. And if that wasn't bad enough, the Spanish flu killed more than double that, 50 million. So that's a lot of people. That's like 70 million people that have died like in the past 5 years, essentially, between World War. It's a number so staggering, like I can't even wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
And in both of the cases, most of the people that died were between like 20 and 40. So they left behind parents, spouses, sweethearts, kids, whoever, like all kinds of people.
Designated humans.
What's that?
Yeah.
Designated humans.
Designated humans, exactly.
Hermits are now without owners.
There's the ornamental humans have nowhere to ornament themselves onto.
They don't. Except for the forest where they all went.
And it's a hugely important demographic. Yeah, make all the jokes you want. I just get very like authoritative when I speak, but don't be afraid.
You just have to interrupt him.
Yeah, it's true.
For the first few episodes, I was like, do I just let him talk or do I say something?
No, I'm just not used to it. I grew up in a family where I have to keep talking louder and louder to get heard. So I'm you got to just yell over me because that's how I've grown up. Anyway, a lot of people are dead. The world's awful. And somehow, are you laughing at everyone being dead? Of course you are.
No, you were just like, we were like laughing. And they're like, anyway, so everybody's dead. It's just the lead in that was fun.
It's dead. Everyone's dead. Everyone's dead. It's terrible. It's scary. You don't know what happened. So this might explain the rise of spiritualism having a big revival in the 1920s. Hannah, I thought you might know a little bit about spiritualism.
Maybe.
Kurosh, how much do you know about spiritualism?
I don't think I know too much, maybe anecdotally, but in what I don't know. No, I'm just gonna say no. I don't know.
Okay, it's fine. It's not a quiz. I just was curious.
I don't like creepy things, so no.
Do you want to? I can give you the overview of it, but Hannah, do you want to explain to Kurosh and the audience kind of briefly what spiritualism is?
Are you sure? Me? Okay. No, it's just everybody got really into the idea of communicating with the dead by any means. So like seances and death photography, like ghost photography, or going to these like houses and or like there's that lady in New York who could like tell people's like future by hitting on the floor or like all this crazy stuff. It was a bunch of like magic tricks that made people believe that they were talking to their dead loved ones, and it went crazy. Everyone went nuts for it, especially like certain authors. Like, wasn't it Arthur Conan Doyle who was like obsessed with it?
Look at you.
And then was it Houdini?
I just learned all this while researching it, and you already know all of this. Not surprised.
I don't know anything.
Good job. Continue. Sorry.
Was it Houdini who was like, I'm gonna ruin this man's life, and would always constantly. He was like, oh, well, when I die, try to have seances for me, and I'll never come back or whatever. Yeah. I can't remember, something like that.
I think I had a really dumb moment there where I mixed. I guess when you said spiritualism, I mixed it with just spirituality.
I mean, I think it's by design. Yeah,
You're
sounds,
like, I don't have any idea what spirituality is.
I'm like, wait, do I not know? This sounds like a question. Like, there's
it is
more
a very
to it.
generic term too. Like spiritualism doesn't sound like anything specific. It sounds like a very broad term. But you're right, Hannah. Like all what you're talking about. Also, the magician part of it was interesting in terms of what I was reading, which is not what my tab's about, but I did come across that. Yeah. But it was sort of like these two camps where a magician's job fundamentally is to be like, it's all a show. Like everything is fake. So magicians were like, we fundamentally do not believe in this concept because that is what we're being paid to do on Earth. So they were like, we're in on the scam.
That's why Houdini was like, "This is so stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys are so dumb.
It's really interesting to see that.
Believe whatever photo somebody makes." Or there's that one. Have you seen the Mary Todd Lincoln photo where she gets a photo?
She was apparently one too. Yeah, she was into spiritualism.
She went kind of crazy, understandably.
Sure.
After watching your husband get shot and die. She had this picture taken from a spiritualist photographer who had like superimposed Lincoln behind her with his hand on her shoulder. Whoa. And she like cherished it. And the picture is creepy. All he did was just like old school Photoshop.
Yeah, that's kind of cool though. I kind of want to see that photo. Yeah, Harry Houdini did not like what does Job say? The how they do dats. He didn't like the how they do dats.
How they do dats.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's spiritualism. It's sort of in the wake of huge, 70 million plus deaths that had happened between the flu and World War I.
I get that.
Spiritualism offered answers that other religions couldn't. It claimed to have, tangible proof for believers by connecting with spirits of the dead and learning about that there is a world after this one. And, frankly, if I was younger, I would have made super fun of these people and just been like, haha, a bunch of idiots. Like, I can't believe that people will believe in anything. But having, us all gone through a worldwide pandemic and seen the toll it took on those who lost somebody, I have to say, like, if we had a world war happening in the middle of it as well, I can't say that I wouldn't be at least curious, however, insane it is. Grief
or at least understandable.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, that makes sense. Yeah, do your thing. Whatever helps you get through this or whatever.
As long as it's not hurting anybody, it's all right. But so that's sort of in the air at this point. It's like spiritualism's in vogue. Also, people aren't really drinking, so they can't really let loose.
So
they're holding a lot in.
Yeah, they're holding a lot in. They can't get it out. So Helene might have been trying to tap into something when she came up with this patent. So picture in your mind's eye, if you will, you are a criminal in the 1920s. So first, Kurosh.
Okay.
What did you get arrested for?
In the 1920s, I got arrested for probably just being what's the term? When you're just causing a disturbance in the neighborhood.
Public nuisance.
Public nuisance.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. I was at a loss for the word. I'm like, I just be loud and upset and just is he a spiritually like, yeah.
I'd be arrested for being insane on the street.
Being insane and causing a public ruckus. I don't know. My thought was I'm going to get arrested for eating soft cheese on a Sunday because that's kind of how those weird laws were back then in certain states.
Or walking a horse through Main Street on a Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of crap. Some dumbass shit like that. Anyway, so the cops show up and they arrest all three of us. They beat us in the head with a baton. They throw us in the back of their old-timey Ford and they take us down to the station. And you're not getting your one phone call or anything. They just take you to be interrogated. And these days, they take you into whatever.
They would put me straight in an asylum. So this
straight
is just
into
you guys.
They're like, lobotomize her.
This woman was trying to vote. We need to take her to prison right away.
Yeah, she wore some pants outside. Put her in the asylum. So yeah, you guys are being taken.
Our bodies are being dumped off the bridge, and they're never gonna find us. So nowadays, you get taken into a sterile room behind, the one-way mirror, and they have something on the table to taunt you into confessing your crime, which in my case would be an empty bin of Valbraiso feta or something, and be like, "Does that look familiar to you?"
You're already eating it.
Yeah, I'm already eating it.
I'm licking that package.
I've never eaten feta cheese in my life. But Helene doesn't want all that. She's not into that. She thinks ahead. She wants to put you in a place which is one of two chambers, the other being occupied by your interrogator. But now we've come to the point where she shows her hand. You ready?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
From the patent. The primary object of my invention is the provision of an apparatus for the creation of illusory effects calculated to impress the subject with their being of a supernatural character and to so work upon his imagination as to enable an inquisitor operating in conjunction with the recording system to obtain confessions and graphically record them by light action under the control of electric impulses governed by the varying intensities of the sound waves. You guys ready?
I don't understand what you just said.
I didn't think you would. That's not the point. And how does she propose by doing this? By having them confess to a ghost skeleton.
What? That's so metal? Are you kidding?
So I just texted you guys the image. Go ahead and look on your phone.
That drawing is...
What
you could tell this person... That looks like what I look like I think I look like that skeleton on a daily basis. The person behind the skeleton is like operating it. That's me.
This looks like a postcard from Seattle.
It kind of does. So
why don't you guys explain what you're looking at for the audience at home who's not subscribed to our YouTube channel and watching the full video version, which you should.
Hannah, do you want to go first?
No, you do it.
No, you should go first. Come on.
No.
Okay.
How dare you?
Fine,
You're in
fine.
my house.
So on one side, it's a figure. It's a designated, kind of like a scientific figure you would see in like an old school, I think like lab report kind of look to it. Like you said, it's a patent. There's on the left side is a gentleman in a nice suit, looks like from the fall collection. I can't tell if he's got shoes on, honestly, because one of them has a little bit of a heel. The other one just looks kind of like it's got a toe.
He's wearing
I
skeletos,
think
at that
maybe.
time. That was the fashion. That is the criminal, by the way, on the left side.
Yes. So,
Wow.
I mean, that's obviously the crime he committed.
Well-dressed criminal.
Oh,
Yeah,
you wore one
fashion
shoe?
police.
One shoe. One... And then on the other side is another individual sitting in a chair. Looks like sitting in front of like a X-ray kind of device. I don't know. It looks like an X-ray. It looks like almost like a tuba. You know, like the tuba horn. Going into a biology class like skeleton body with a movie reel sticking out of the back of its head. And
that was the best description of an image that this podcast has ever seen.
That's pretty good, yeah.
It's ASMR patent descriptions.
Usually Pakave's like, tell everyone what you're seeing. I'm like, there's a dude, there's this guy, and there's an island. There's some poo on it.
So she must have been inspired by like the Home Depot or something, those giant skeletons. So it's a skeleton, but it's not just any skeleton. This thing is essentially like a Muppet being controlled by the Interrogator, who talks through a megaphone, presumably doing their best haunted skeleton impression. And it also has crazy red light bulbs in its eyes.
So she was the Jim Henson of her generation.
Yeah. So you basically were like, I'm a giant skeleton. I know what you ate. You ate soft cheese in the street.
Did you disturb the peas?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that.
The wonderful Wizard of Oz is here.
It's basically, yeah. It's exactly what it is. She's like the Wizard of Oz. So you're in there and you see these glowing red eyes and they turn on and then the soft lights come in. And then like all of a sudden you see this demon from the afterlife and it's talking to you and it's like, confess to me, confess.
I get that.
It was their generation's waterboarding in Guantanamo Bay.
Exactly.
Well, if you like think about like how Christian everybody was, it's like the whole thing about Christianity is like you don't want to die with this on your conscience. You may as well tell this whoever it is.
This weird skeleton person. Yeah. Here's another shot from the front too, by the way.
It looks like TSA. It looks like TSA.
Yeah, it looks like X-ray from TSA.
I would confess anything and everything they needed me to say to get me out of that room.
I already want to tell it my secrets.
It's true. You could. You just let it know whatever you have.
You're like, I play blue-white decks.
I'm secretly into Azorius. I'm sorry.
So it does this whole song and dance routine with the red lights and all that's going on, and then you mess up and you're like, oh my god, no, it was me, I'm sorry, like whatever, and you tell them everything that's what you've ever done in your entire life, like
I ate the cheese.
Yeah. Or like Chunk in the Goonies where he's just like, oh, and then this one time where he's like crying and they're like, I like this kid. And the cops are all high-fiving. They're like, we did it. We got like the entire confession, but that's not enough. Helene took it a step further. Of course, as you pointed out, she includes a camera right behind the skeleton's head. That way they could film the confession in all its God-fearing glory and present that at trial.
Do we have recordings of this still?
It never got made.
No.
Oh.
But it was a patent that was filed.
No.
But no,
because, so I'll say this. So basically, it's coercion. You can't scare the shit out of somebody into thinking there's like a demon from hell, and then just be like, "That's going to hold up in a court of law."
In the 1920s,
even in the 1920s, you kind of couldn't do that. Surprisingly, despite it being very
lax. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even think about that. I was like, "Yeah, we're going to trick them into thinking they're dying, right?"
Yeah. Basically. And also, who knows what the hell people are going to say to like a demon from the other side? You're just going to be like, oh yeah,
Right.
no, whatever. Or somebody might try and make a deal with them and be like, yeah, I'd love to learn how to play guitar much better. Can I sell you my soul? Like, it was just too
In the wrong
unpredictable.
hands.
Yeah, in the wrong hands, it could have gone evil.
We don't want that to happen in law enforcement. New technology to go put it in the wrong hands and turn evil.
And turn evil. We
Never.
don't want that at all. Anyway, so basically, they were like, yeah, no, that's not going to work out. We're not.
They
gonna
wouldn't
do
let
that.
her do it.
That wasn't the thing. No one was interested in it. But
Oh,
it's a pretty cool
but
little
it's in the
interesting.
patent library. It's
in the
there.
patent
It
library. It's
exists.
there. There is a YouTube video. I forget who it is. It was like a curiosity stream video or something where somebody
yeah.
like recreated it and made it, and then like they have like a little video where they showed people to see how it works. But it's a pretty cool concept. I thought it was pretty awesome, and it basically just looks like they take you to a haunted house.
Yeah, I was about to say
Effectively is what it is.
in the theme that you were saying with the Halloween, this just sounds like a perfect Halloween decoration you have at your front door.
Yeah.
Like trick or treat, kids. Don't take your drink your Ovaltine.
Yeah, Ovaltine.
What's next? Well, okay, so that is insane. I want to make this.
Yeah, it'd be fun to make it. But that
Yeah.
requires technical skills that we know. Although, Kurosh,
Well.
your degree's in engineering, right?
Wait,
I mean,
really?
I am Persian.
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't know what
also
that means.
Persian. I do not have a degree in engineering.
Wait, is Kaveh the outlier?
Oh, very much so.
Really?
He's an
Really?
engineer of other kinds. He's an engineer of destruction, of comedy,
Yeah.
of
Oh.
Social engineering. Yeah. Engineering of my own demise more than anything.
But yeah,
anyway,
we can make something. We could probably
we
put
can make
something
it.
together.
All right. If we got a lot of stuff to do, Kurosh. I feel like you came on this episode and we just ended up creating more
I'm sorry.
work for
I
all
just
three
gave
of
you
us.
guys more work. You guys are like,
No,
we're
we're
so
gonna give
busy.
you work.
I'm
Yeah.
delegation.
We're busy. We're busy
Yeah.
because we make ourselves that way.
Yeah, that's
At
true.
your next panel, you might see one of these.
Yes.
If there,
That'd be
yeah,
awesome.
if there's an opportunity, there is a panel coming up, isn't?
At
LA.
the time that this airs, I will have done LA Comic-Con, I believe. It will have been the previous weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't really plug it on this one. Anyway, that's my tab. I just thought it was cool. I liked the
Spooky.
drawings. I liked the idea, and I liked learning a little bit about spiritualism in the context of it after World War One and the
Yeah.
Spanish flu. So
You set the tone. Like I was in the vibe of like I would feel how I was immersed in that. Like as a director sets a scene for
deeply
the
He's good at
actor.
that.
I felt like Daniel Day-Lewis just like method acting into the kid to the spot, or like a
Imagine.
Jared
That's what-
Leto.
yeah, you're in the 1700s. There's a garden, and you're walking through it, and there is a homeless man who's being paid.
To not talk to you.
Okay,
to not
do my
talk
next,
to you.
do my next.
Yeah. There are magic
Next
cards.
thing you know,
Yeah.
they're all playing magic, and it smells
They're
bad.
feeding you and feeding you and feeding you.
And you're begging them to stop,
Begging
but they're
them to
saying,
stop.
"No, please, please, no, please. You're
Yeah, but
you're
you
in my
can't,
hermit
because
cave.
it's rude. Yeah, right.
I'm gonna keep feeding you.
And it's rude to refuse, so you keep having to eat because you don't want to offend your hosts. Anyway,
You don't want to offend the hermit. Yeah,
exactly. That's my tab.
That
That was
was
cool.
awesome, dude.
That
Thank
was
you.
crazy. That was cool. I liked them.
Thank you guys.
That would have been a good Halloween one if she had actually made it.
Little bit of
I
Halloween.
honestly
Anyway,
feel like both were the ornamental
people.
aspect. The people. There's a morbidness to it.
There's
Little
always
bit.
morbidity with us.
I just realized, you know the 1/1 human tokens?
Yeah.
No.
Who does
Those
it?
could
Is
be
that a
hermits.
magic thing?
Oh my god.
Yeah. Those could be
It is?
ornamental hermits. Yeah. The
Okay.
1/1 humans. They're always like running through a village with a sword, but this time it could just be a hermit looking like insane.
We could get
Sweet.
this patent into a token as well, I think.
We could. We
Yeah.
could get it into like a.
Yeah. Is confessing,
A
getting
curse-
a confession
a
part
curse
of part
card.
of magic?
No.
There's clues. No, there are clue tokens.
There is. I hate the clue thing. I get maybe I
Clues
just
clues a
haven't had enough time
placeholder.
with
I
it.
haven't done much with the clues,
Listen,
but
we're
clues
gonna
could be a
workshop
placeholder.
this. We
Yeah,
got a
I-
Mostachiar one, like you said. I'm gonna do a Mostamusir. We're gonna do this as well.
He'd be good with a werewolf deck. Werewolf deck for this guy.
Yeah, I can see that.
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that means, but sure. Peter Stump, love
Yeah.
it. Thumbs up.
Yeah, we can't talk about magic anymore. So
Yeah, so that brings us to the time where we're going to close our tabs. Kurosh, do you have any suggestions for cool sounds that we can use to close? Maybe something that's related to Magic the Gathering or one of your decks or tokens or whatever. Or a bowl
You're just
of
throwing words
Mostachiar.
out
Yeah,
that you remember.
A bowl of yogurt getting flipped over on the table and spilling everywhere. I don't know.
As long as
a
it
cool
destroys the
sound
tab.
would be the like a deck shuffling. If not if that doesn't work, then I would say like a Persian, like a bah bah bah.
Bah, 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 bah. Of a destruction. We're going to close them, though. It needs to, like, die. You could just take your bah, bah, bah. Just, okay, we're going to give you a clean, do a clean bah, bah, bah. And then Alyssa can take that and then just maybe put some echoes behind it. So it sounds very, like, epic.
Okay.
Put the desert music in there, too.
Just bah, bah, bah. I thought you wanted me to do the desert music. I didn't realize Colin was doing it. Okay.
All right. No, it's perfect
Let's
as
start
it is.
again. Let's start
pull
again.
Up your...
Oh,
no,
okay.
that's it. That's what we're going to have to do. Let's do it. We're going to have to be chaos. Pull up your tabs. Ready, guys?
Yeah.
Kurush, count us down.
3, 2, 1. Bah, 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 bah.
It's going to be you saying that over you saying that. I love that.
Yeah. You wanted the echo in of itself.
Bah, 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 bah. Okay, moving on to listener emails. I believe, Hannah, you're going to be up first because you did your tab first. So go for it.
This is from Julia from the Netherlands, but originally from Poland. So,
all right. Julia
says, Dear 500 Open Tabs, thank you for making my wait every week for a new thing I get to info dump on my boyfriend. Oh, thank you for letting me wait for a week for a new thing I get to info dump on my boyfriend. I'm sorry, Julia's boyfriend. But look, he signed up for this. I love it, and he loves me, so he doesn't get much of a say. Thankfully, we both have ADHD, so he never leaves me with a fun fact of his own. And the one I have to share is from him. So I think she meant he always leaves me without a fun fact of his own. So this is from his tabs. So I would like to present to you a Wikipedia page of one Leo Major, a Quebecois soldier and an absolute one-eyed madman. Oh. He was a Second World War soldier who participated in the liberation of the Netherlands from the Nazi occupation. He fought in the war since 1940 and had lost his eye in combat, but continued to fight, insisting that he only needs one eye to use a gun. He then continued to fight in the Korean War in the 50s. So, however, he is particularly commemorated in the city of Zwolle.
Zwolle.
Fun fact, when I started this email, I just passed that city on a train ride home, he has single-handedly liberated from the Nazis in 1945. The story goes that the Canadian Army was ready to bomb the city where 500 Nazi troops were stationed. He and his buddy, Wilfred Arsenault, volunteered for a scouting mission. So they didn't want to destroy the city, so they agreed to liberate the city before that happens. However, on their way to Zwolle, Arsenault was killed. Oh, no. A normal person would go back to the commanders and leave it at that, not Leo. He killed 2 soldiers of the group that shot Arsenault and then continued on his way to the city alone.
Nice.
It's not clear what had happened, but suffice to say that Leo spent several hours in Zwolle where he somehow forced 500 Germans to leave the city, after which he contacted Dutch resistance and returned to his commanders with Arsenault's body.
Wild.
Stories of what he was up to are many and somewhat contradictory. Most popular say that the Major, armed with several machine guns and a sack of grenades, launched a solo assault on Zwolle using gunfire and grenade explosions to trick the German elements in the city into believing a large Canadian force was assaulting the city.
Whoa.
Thanks to his bravery, or insanity, the city of Zwolle got spared the shelling and got liberated without firing a single shot, at least from anyone beside the Major.
Wow.
There you go. You can consider this my boyfriend's payback from all the times I've info dumped on him. Thanks to you. All the best from the Netherlands, Julia.
That's
he
wild.
Sounds like he would have loved Helga. Was Helga his name?
He would have loved Helga Munger. Yeah, dude, this guy sounds insane.
Action hero.
Yeah.
Also, I like that it's 500. Although I don't like that it's 500 Nazi soldiers, because that's like, no, that's fun. But we always think of 500.
Unless we say 500 open Nazi soldiers, meaning they've been cut open.
Their bodies
their tabs got closed.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
We closed all 500 of those Nazis.
The Arnold Schwarzenegger adaptation of this. He's like, consider your tab closed.
Speaking of Commando, yeah.
The only good Nazis are dead Nazis.
That's good. I like that.
That's pretty good, Arnold.
Awesome. I love it. Okay, email number 2 is from Betsy from San Francisco. Hi, Kava and Hannah. I'm writing from San Francisco. Parentheses, Bay Area represent.
Woo!
I'm constantly driving by Lick Wilmerding High School and wondered about the namesake, as I am, as I read the name Lick Wilmerding.
Lick Wilmerding. I think he lives on Dick Hill.
Dick Hill, exactly. He's rolling down that hill, which introduced me to the wildlife of James Lick. I highly recommend reading through his whole Wikipedia page, but some highlights of James Lick. Oh, Jimmy Lick.
Dang it. I was going to say, my name's Jimmy Lick.
My friends call me Jimmy Lick.
Yeah. Old Jimmy Lick moved to Buenos Aires to be a piano maker, but left because of his ignorance of Spanish and the turbulent political situation.
Okay.
Old Jimmy Lick moved to San Francisco.
You can't do the whole thing.
600.
Can't do this whole
you
thing.
can't tell me what not to do. I'm going to just do it more. Old Jimmy Lick moved to San Francisco and brought 600 pounds of chocolate that sold quickly. So he convinced his friend Domingo Ghirardelli to move to SF.
Yes,
what?
dude, I've read about this dude before because the
Jimmy Lick and
Ghirardellis did
Ghirardelli.
not live here until this guy was like, by the way, there's chocolate here.
Old Jimmy Lick brought him. Old Jimmy Lick bought land during the gold rush and became the richest man in California. At the end of old Jimmy Lick's life, he wanted to build giant statues of himself and his parents and erect a pyramid larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza in his own honor in downtown San Francisco, but was convinced to donate the money to better causes. If only some of our tech overlords in San Francisco would follow suit.
Yeah.
Old Jimmy Lick's fortune was used to build the Lick Observatory, conservatory of flowers, and many other statues and memorials in the Bay Area.
He built the Conservatory of Flowers? That place is dope. There's flowers in there.
He licked that place.
He licked
There's
it.
There's a corpse flower that blooms and it smells like a dead corpse.
Oh, can you lick it when it smells bad?
If no one's looking, I'm sure
It's
you can.
Interactive. Sorry for how long it was, but his life was insane, and I can't believe it took me seeing a high school to know who he was. Thanks for podcasting, and looking forward to new episodes. Betsy.
I'm actively opening the Wikipedia for James Lick right now. Thanks, Betsy.
James Lick. Thank you,
Betsy.
Betsy.
Wow, Betsy.
Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Julia. Thank you for your emails. If you too, listener, have an email that you'd like to share with us, please go ahead and send it to 500opentabs@gmail.com. That's 500. Give us a brief, can't emphasize this enough, brief explanation of what your tab is. Include the link, and of course, let us know where you're from, because that gets us very excited. And I believe we get so excited knowing where people are.
Why is that? Why do we care?
I don't know, because it's exciting to know that it's not
it is
just like
exciting.
5 people that we know that listen to this that are like our friends, not even in my family. Anyway, we'd like to take this time to thank Kurosh for coming on the show. It was fantastic to have you.
Thank you
for taking the time to do some research and teach us about, or I guess not teach Hannah, but teach me about Magic the Gathering, because Hannah already knew a lot about it. But it was a lot of fun to have you. Why don't you tell our audience about where they can find you, if there's anything you'd like to plug, anything you'd like people to know about you that's coming up.
Sure. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure. I've been a big fan of the show, and it's been an honor to be on the show. You can find me at Cujo Prime on all like the social things. And my YouTube channel is youtube.com/@CujoPrime. I have a show about indie video games, celebrating and elevating indie games and game developers.
Cool.
I have a backlog of work. I've been kind of in convention mode over the summer, and I'm trying to get back to it. So there's a lot of things I have that I'm editing right now, so they should look forward to a lot of really cool, different, unique indie games that I'm going to be discussing and showcasing there.
Can you give any like hint as to maybe one of them that you're going to talk about?
I would say I'll give one that is more of a well-known one. There's a game called Balatro. They took the card game of poker and made it more Magic-esque in a fun way. It's very addicting. My girlfriend has never played it, and she knows poker, but she's never like played these card games. And she's like, I have to get the holographic of the Joker, of the Jack of Spades. I have to. And like,
It's turned her into.
You'll make fun of my magic all the time. I can make fun of you now.
This
so
is
there's
just
that.
magic.
And then another game will be about a parkour cat that runs and delivers pizza.
Dude,
That sounds fun.
I'm not going to say. I'm really looking forward to seeing that one. That sounds amazing.
That sounds awesome.
So I'm excited to talk about those and share that. So those are there.
Please
and then,
check those out.
Yeah, and I write for Temple of Geek. So my latest stuff was regarding Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It's a fighting game collection from all the Marvel vs. Capcom stuff I grew up with, and I was more than excited to talk about it. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, you do streams and stuff too, right?
I do
do
it
you live
sometimes. I haven't done as much. I did it primarily with the Prince of Persia stuff, which, by the way, I've been revisiting, and there's reasons to revisit that. The Not the one I showed you, but there's a Prince of
We
Persia
played the
game.
PC one, I think. Yeah. Then there's
We
the
played-
Switch version.
Well, no, there's
the ones that came out this year. Sorry.
Yeah, there was one called The Lost Crown, and that's come out this year, and I have nothing but I'm working on a more I want to do a Persian video all about that, like
Nice.
at some point. So I'm excited.
I look forward to that too. Fantastic.
That's a bit
Thank
on me.
you.
Awesome.
And you can follow us at 500 Open Tabs on Instagram with the number 500 Open Tabs. And you can, as you said, you can write in at 500opentabs@gmail.com. And I'm going to do the book tour stuff really quick. Portland on the 26th, I'm going to be at Powell's. Don't know what time. And New York I'm going backwards. New York Comic Con, I'm doing a signing on Friday of the New York Comic Con at 1 o'clock. And then what's next? Pasadena on the 29th. And I'll be in conversation with Sarah Anderson from Sarah Scribbles. And then Salt Lake on the 1st of November at the King's English.
Where the Elder Highlander dragons are.
Yep. I will be sitting down with Elder Highlander Dragon Highlander, and we will be talking about my book.
Yes. Which Elder Highlander Dragon is just going to be a giant dragon wearing a short sleeve white shirt with a black tie and then a name tag.
Should be with a cardigan.
With the name tag.
Yeah, Elder Dragon. Elder Highlander.
Yep, holding a book, yeah.
Next week.
Where can they find you?
Right. I will also be at New York Comic Con next week. That's going to be exciting.
What's our booth?
I don't know.
K? Oh, it's K. Remember,
It's K.
your name.
Right.
It's K something.
K something. Come see me. I'll have a bunch of stuff. You can find me on Instagram at PermaFriends, and of course, sometimes not really on Twitter, but still sort of there, and occasionally on Blue Sky. Of course, join our Discord. That's where we have a lot of cool conversations. I think we're going to definitely be getting into some of this magic stuff once this episode drops. And of course, follow the sponsor links. If you were recommended this show by a friend, please continue the thread and recommend it to another friend. Help us grow.
Just like Elder Dragon Highlander.
Exactly.
Please proselytize this.
Proselytize.
Bring
If
it to the
you
masses.
Yeah.
bring this-
Persepolize.
Persepolize it.
If you like magic and or you have a friend that likes magic or a spouse that likes magic, tell them about this podcast. Send them this episode. If you know a skeleton, send it to them.
Or the kid you bullied in high school.
If you have an ornamented hermit.
If you
go
know any
outside,
hermits,
walk into the cave.
get them a phone, play them this podcast or a laptop. Yeah. Spread the word, you guys. Again, Kurosh, thank you so much. Fantastic to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And what did you say at the end of the other episode?
Oh,
I'll see you at the shit
I'll
wall.
see you at the shitting wall. Look, it's a bad sign off.
Bah, bah, bah.
But it's all we have.
Bah, bah, bah. Secundus next in chat here 5 times. Oh, Jimmy Lick.
There was not even that many Jimmy Licks. You just kept saying that. It wasn't even written. You just kept saying Jimmy Lick. Anyway,
Thanks, guys.
bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Let's go.